From Bustleton to Broome, this is Spirit Drive.
Thanks to Reed's Prospecting Supplies. Matt can't help you with gold prospecting or treasure hunting, but Reed's can. Head to reedsprospecting.com.au.
Right across Western Australia, we are driving home on the Spirit, and it is time for my next guest. For 10 glorious years, you've watched the three amigos from Selling Houses Australia basically sell the unsellable. Not going to lie too, it is a guilty pleasure of mine. Also, though, the new series of Love It or List It is on the air, where homeowners face one of life's biggest dilemmas.
Should I stay or should I go?
Should I stay or should I go? Now, Andrew Winter.
You're not going to sing that, are you?
No,
that's
I'm
all
just
right.
going to leave it to the Clash. We'll leave it to the professionals. Of course, you are one of the professionals of the program, a real estate expert, fronting both programs, and he's here right now in the Spirit Drive studio. Very great to have you here, mate.
It's good to be here.
What brings you to our neck of the woods?
Well, it's actually on a mission with Selling Houses Australia. We're filming for season 11, which is going to air next year here in Perth.
Bit of a silly question, though. What made you pack up your life in the UK to come over down under here in Australia?
Wasn't so much a case of had to. No, no. Well, it's a big decision for a family to do. We had young kids. We were a kind of family that loved nice weather. Sounds strange but true. I'd come over here as a sort of youngster, done the year out in Australia. My wife's parents lived in WA at the time.
Yep.
We had a bit of a connection to the country and we thought we'd give it a go, but we decided to come over here at a stage of our lives where we thought we've got to do it or never do it. And we also came over here with the attitude that we were here to stay. And I think the first year, 18 months were pretty challenging. And as long as you got the attitude that you're here to stay, you don't give in, because it's quite easy for people to give in and go, oh, well, you know, I'm in Australia. Well, it's not. It's you usually that can't settle in and get used to things. But
yeah.
Oh my goodness me, the benefit to our lives is innumerable. I think our kids are. I'm proud to have Aussie kids.
You were hosting Selling Houses back over in the UK.
I was.
When did you catch wind that an Aussie version was in the works and producers were looking for you?
Well, that didn't exist because the UK version ran from 02 to 07.
Yeah.
And at the time in 2007, can you believe it that although we were rating really strongly in the UK, they canned a number of property shows in the UK because they thought the property show genre was coming to an end. And needless to say, but that didn't matter to me because I'd already moved to Australia. I was sick to death of travelling between the two continents, had enough, had young kids, would rather just work in Australia, quite happy to give it up. But within a month of it being canned in the UK, Foxtel rang me and said, would you like to do an Australian version? And I went, yes, please.
Yeah.
And that was really as easy as that. I did nothing.
Look at that.
Absolutely nothing. Just sat there, answered the phone call to Foxtel and said, would you like to do one? I said, yes, please.
Yeah.
And that really was as easy as that.
11 series strong. That is a fantastic
Yes.
story. That's really good. Now, let's get your expertise for a second for homeowners who are struggling to sell out there. What are some of the biggest mistakes you've seen time and time again?
Our price expectation is one of them. Now,
Yeah.
you're going to have a big battle at the moment with Perth market struggling a little bit. You know, you believe that your house is worth, say, I mean, looking at you're probably in the $3 to $4 million category. But if we look at more normal people, say 700,000 to 800,000, and they think, my house should sell easily for 800,000. That's what the house up the road sold for last year. It might not get 800 now, and it's that acknowledgement. You've got to decide whether you're happy to sell at a lower level. Now, if you're buying in the same marketplace, it might actually not matter because you take a hit on that one, you get a deal on the next one. But if you're selling to move out of the area or it's an investment property, then you might decide that really you just should wait until the values bounce back up, and they will. When? That's the hard part to tell, but they will.
Now, you bought your first home at 18 years old. What advice can you give to the youngins today who are trying to jump into the property market
Well,
now?
if you're Perth-based, it's good news because you want that market to come off the boil as a buyer. You want to be... The best time to be buying as a young first-time buyer is when everyone's telling you not to and when nothing is selling. That is the best market to get into. So first-home buyers, just keep a very close eye on your market. Best tip, find a benchmark to work from. If you're looking for a two-bedroom unit in the city area, for example, find out what they're typically selling for in particular apartment buildings. Watch those prices. If you start to see that it was 400 and now they're 375, if it's starting to come down to 350 and below, it might be the time to pounce.
Very sound advice from Andrew Winter. He fronts Selling Houses Australia and Love It or List It on the Lifestyle Channel. New The Killers now, this is Run for Cover, Spirit Drive. The Killers run for cover on Spirit Drive right across WA, and I'm joined by Andrew Winter from Selling Houses Australia and Love It or List It. Now, what do you think is driving the renovation and property obsession here in Australia? I mean, you drive around, you see a Bunnings on almost every corner. The biggest TV series on network television's The Block.
Never heard of it.
Yes, neither have I. You've had unwavering success, of course, with the many shows you've featured. So I guess what do you think is driving that obsession at the moment?
There's still, well, we all want to live in beautiful homes.
Yeah.
We all want to enhance the value of our existing home to make more money. And the other thing is, for a lot of homeowners, especially in markets like Perth, where it's getting a little bit, edgy, and for people in booming places like Sydney, where the cost of moving is almost prohibitive, you've got to look at your existing home. Maybe you should just upgrade what you're living in right now, and that can make a lot of sense for a lot of people. So that fascination is still there, good market or bad.
Let's not talk about that other network program. Selling Houses Australia, Love It or List It. What's been the most rewarding project for you throughout both shows' histories?
Look, I think it's when we do sell a house that the homeowners had almost given up on, and it's life-changing, and we've done that quite a lot of times. We've even done it for the Salvos. And, so that's when it really has an impact. And we had one episode on Love It or List It this season, a Sydney family with 7 children, and yes, the kids were all beautiful. God knows how they managed to do that. Beautiful kids, beautifully behaved family, fantastic people, and we had tears where they said, "You've changed our lives." They needed to move, and Mum was hanging on to the house. And what was interesting, the reason she was prepared to move, even though Neil had enhanced the house beyond their wildest dreams, Neil had got rid of their old kitchen and bathroom. So nothing was the same. So even though it was their house, it wasn't really their kitchen, it wasn't really their family home. So she was ready to go then, and she said it was life-changing.
And then, of course, the Mel and Macca episode, which aired last night, where there were 9 children.
That episode's very interesting as well, because he's really, really attached to that property, and she is. The problem we had with that family was they lived in a particularly good area of Melbourne, and trying to find them an upgrade on their house with their budget in an equally good area was a real challenge.
Well, they decided to love it. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah.
Neil Whittaker, you guys,
Neil,
your yin and the yang.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was absolutely furious. I thought I'd showed them the house that answered all their dreams, and still that Mr. Whittaker walks in and beats me. Let's say there's always another week.
I was going to say,
it also put him ahead for the season.
Oh, that's a shock, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very hard.
I don't know what's going to happen. You're one of the highest subscription rating programs. I don't know, if you add a little bit of a sport element, that might be the extra edge. You and a battle ring, you two
myself
together.
And Neil are not sporting types in respect of physical sport, can't you tell? But the rivalry on the winning and the losing was never supposed to be there, but it's certainly turning out to be.
Well, it's Australia's
As I
guilty
say to
pleasure.
Neil, just watch out, Neil. I know all sorts of people in Sydney.
Oh, there you go. I wonder if he's listening right now. Let's have a look. Of course, Love It or List It is back again next Wednesday on the Lifestyle Channel, and we are looking forward to the 11th season of Selling Houses Australia. That's early next year, is that right?
It will be, including this episode here in Perth.
Fantastic on the Lifestyle Channel. It is an absolute pleasure having you here, Andrew Winter.
Thank you very much.
Back after this on Spirit Drive.